Hello, everyone. Smile here, I guess. My name is Eugene. You can call me Smile, though. Smile is this little skeleton guy. That's supposed to be that character. You like him? He's for the streams. Anyway, since I don't have any more really relevant footage that I could edit into fun videos, I wanted to hop in here and maybe have a bit of a discussion about some discourse that I've been seeing online, mainly on Twitter, but also on extraction shooter channels in general. I wanted to talk about some of the discourse around Marathon and its comparison to Arc Raiders as of recently. If you didn't know, well, Arc Raiders just had their server slam test, which was their final open test before the release on the 30th, which I'm fucking thrilled about. But also at the same time, right now, as we speak, on the 28th, there's still ongoing a closed test for Marathon, for Bungie's Marathon, their new extraction shooter IP. A test that I got into. I can't speak on the contents of the test because that would be breaking NDA. But I did get into it, and I've been seeing a lot of, frankly, pretty unrequited hate still being peddled at Marathon and at Bungie. Obviously, Bungie had the plagiarism scandal around Marathon earlier this year, which is unacceptable, but they since fixed it, and the game is frankly so much more than just those pieces of art that were unfairly stolen. But mainly what I want to talk about is the grace that has been given to Arc Raiders and what it's become, and the hype that grace has really turned into, and how that same grace is not being extended to Marathon. I get that they haven't really earned it, but I feel like there's an argument for giving it to them. Let me explain myself. When Embark Studios was founded, I believe it was in 2020, the first IP they ever worked on was Arc Raiders. That might sound a bit weird to some of you, since the Finals, their PvP arena shooter, came out before Arc Raiders. I believe before it was even announced. But the reason the timeline of events and releases for Embark happened the way that it did was because they were working on Arc Raiders for about 4 years. And Embark is a studio of ex-DICE developers. I'm sure you know that already. They worked on Battlefront, they worked on Battlefield. If you don't see the DNA of those games in Arc Raiders and in the Finals, get some glasses, buddy. Sorry. The reason that it happened the way that it did was because they have been working on Arc Raiders for about 4 years after the studio had been founded. 4 or 3 years, something of the sort. Same art style we see now, same music, same general aesthetic and vibe, but it was, before, a PvE looter shooter. It was not a PvP extraction shooter. And sometime during production, they decided to make their first ever public test. Not public, but like their first, outside of the studio test for Arc Raiders, for that PvE model that they used to have, and the reception to that playtest was mostly negative. They were told the game wasn't fun, that it wasn't replayable, etc., etc. And Embark, being game developers and applying one of the pillars of game development, took that feedback and turned Arc Raiders into what it is today. How did they do that? Systemically is how they did it. Game development works that way. You get feedback, you apply it in a systemic way that gives proven results. What Embark did with Arc Raiders, and how much hype it's getting right now, and how great the game is in the state that it is right now before it comes out, was not an accident. It was not a coincidence from Embark's part. They didn't stumble upon gold. It was all using data, statistically proven methods, to apply that feedback in a systemic way and make the game a more fun and positively received product. It was based on hard work and data analysis, and mainly, again, feedback. Earlier this year, Embark had their tech test number 2, which was relatively open, which was when the game really exploded into popularity because the game was great and people were suddenly really excited to play it, and a lot of people were playing it, and because people didn't get access, there was a lot of hype around getting to play it. And around that same time, Bungie's Marathon also had its first playtest, or one of its first ones. And in stark contrast to Embark's playtest, Marathon was very poorly received. I think you know where I'm going with this. It made people really hate on Marathon and Bungie, and I get it, Bungie has lost a lot of goodwill. But it made people call Marathon a dead on arrival game, and calling it, pointless and just another extraction shooter, which fair criticisms and fair feedback, to be honest. But at the same time, Bungie, in response to that feedback, delayed the game. They could have released it this month. They could have. And it would have been shit, and people wouldn't have liked it. And Sony would have closed down Bungie, which would have been a giant shame. Bungie's a staple, a pillar of the game development community right now. They made some of the most iconic sci-fi IPs in history. I'm sure I don't have to tell you what those are. And there's some really talented, passionate people still behind that studio, making some of the best art that the gaming industry has ever seen and still yet to see. Bungie pushing the game back and allowing themselves the time to gather more feedback and to change the game in a systemic, data-proven way is going to make the game better. Again, I cannot speak on the contents of the playtest, but I've heard on the grapevine that this playtest has been a lot better received. Hey, hold your horses. Just coming in here to say, first of all, like and subscribe. Please. I'm begging you. Second of all, I was gonna post this video, just kind of as it was, but I was just now playing a bit more of the Marathon thing. And again, I can't speak on the content, but I think it should be hypothetically very clear that I am making this video because I truly believe that Bungie's doing something special with this game. I won't say any more about it, okay? I'm not breaking NDA. If Bungie's listening, the game is redacted. But I do think it's special. Alright, cool. Bungie is doing what Embark did with Arc Raiders. They are gathering feedback, systemically applying it, and making a better game out of it. And I believe that if you're an extraction shooter fan right now that hates on Marathon, but loves Arc Raiders, you fundamentally misunderstand what it is that makes Arc Raiders great today. Because it wasn't great 2 years ago. It was made great by talented people applying data and feedback in a way that was provable, and that eventually made the game better. You should give Bungie this grace. They have some of the most talented people in the industry. Trust me, at least on the art side, no game has ever looked like Marathon. If you allow them this grace, if us as consumers, we allow them this grace, I truly believe that we could be heading into a mainstream golden era for extraction shooters with Tarkov 1.0, with Arc Raiders, with Marathon. They're never going to be battle royales. They'll always be a niche genre, but Arc Raiders has proven that it doesn't have to be. And I think Marathon could do a lot towards garnering more of that goodwill for the extraction shooter genre. So please, if they do another live playtest, if you like extraction shooters at all, if you're a fan of Bungie, of their art, of the vibe of their games, of their environmental storytelling, whatever it may be, give Marathon a chance. And more importantly, give Marathon the same grace that we have allowed ourselves to give Arc Raiders. If not for the game itself, for the genre and for the people behind it. That's it. That's all I had to say. Sorry for the weird video. I know this is not the precedent that we've said before in this channel, but there'll be more stuff. I'm going to be live on Twitch on the 30th at 4:30 a.m. EST or 5:30 a.m. EST, I believe. I'll put the times on screen right now. Whenever Arc Raiders releases, we are going to be live on Twitch. If you would like to come watch and hang out and give a follow and say hi. That's really all I had to say. Enjoy your raiding. Take care of yourself. Drink some water. And don't let the door hit you where the good Lord splits you. And I'll see you around. Thanks for watching.
Don't shoot!